You see, the only sacrifice that God accepts and that will properly atone for our sin is the shedding of blood. There has to be death. God has always operated that way. Listen to Leviticus chapter 17, verse 11. For the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it to you upon the altar to make an atonement for your souls. For it is the blood that maketh an atonement for the soul. Blood is the only means of atonement that satisfies God's righteous retribution against sin. Before Christ came, before He was born of a virgin, lived a sinless life, and then died as the perfect sacrifice for us, you remember in the Old Testament that no sinner dared to ever approach God and ask for forgiveness without a substitutionary blood sacrifice. You remember how they would lay their hands upon that lamb that was without spot and without blemish, a way of identifying with that lamb as they, in a sense, transferred their sins to that lamb. And then that lamb was killed, sacrificed, blood was shed. There was the death of the lamb to make atonement for the sins. Hebrews 9 verse 22 says, without shedding of blood is no remission. But when Jesus Christ came, the sacrificial system of the Old Testament came to an end because He became the final sacrifice for sin. The penalty for sin is death, and sin had to be paid for. It could not be ignored. We were the ones who deserved to die on that cross, but Jesus took our place. He became our substitute, and bearing the penalty for the sin that we had incurred, there He hung upon that cross, bleeding and suffering and dying in our place for our sins. Amen. Jesus didn't die just to leave us a good example. Jesus didn't die just to show us how to deal with suffering. No, He died in our place as our substitute, taking the penalty of our sin upon Himself so that we could be saved.